The subject that we're here to debate is NATO's relevance. And that prompts two questions: relevant for whom? And here my argument is that I'm going to talk about NATO's relevance for the United States. And then second, what does relevance mean? And I think in the case of the United States, it boils down to whether or not the United States should remain militarily committed to NATO, whether we should keep military forces, large scale military forces in Europe. And my answer to that is no. And there are many reasons for that, but the principal reason is geopolitical, and it has to do with containing China. There are three areas of the world that matter to the United States strategically, three areas you want to fight and die for. One is Europe, two is East Asia, and three is the Persian Gulf. Those are the three key areas of the world. And for the United States, the key question is whether or not there is a potential hegemon in one of those regions. One of the reasons that we stayed in Europe during the Cold War was because the Soviet threat was concentrated in Europe, and we didn't want the Soviets to become a regional hegemon. The fact is, there is no regional hegemon in Europe today or on the horizon. And indeed, there is a regional hegemon in the system, or a potential regional hegemon in the system. It's China, and it is in East Asia. That means that the United States should concentrate all its military might in East Asia to deal with China. That is what really matters. Europe does not matter very much at all because there is no potential hegemon there today. Now, one might say we could still keep troops in Europe because we had troops in Europe and the Far East during the Cold War. The problem with that argument is that China is a much more formidable adversary than the Soviet Union was during the Cold War. It has many more people relative to us, and it is far more wealthier than the Soviet Union was. So we have to concentrate on East Asia. Furthermore, the United States has significant problems at home, and the United States needs to do nation building at home, as Barack Obama put it in 2008. And we therefore have to cut back our commitments around the world as much as possible at the same time that we contain China. Now, one might argue that the United States needs to stay in Europe for the purposes of containing Russia. There's a real Russian threat out there in addition to a Chinese threat. I have 2 points to make on that. First of all, we, the United States and its allies, and specifically NATO, created the Russian threat. It was NATO expansion coupled with EU expansion and the color revolutions in Eastern Europe that caused this crisis with the Russians. So NATO's relevance in this particular case is it pushed Russia into the arms of the Chinese. In a world where your principal goal is to contain the Chinese, the last thing you want to do is drive the Russians into the arms of the Chinese. And who is principally responsible for that? NATO expansion. Furthermore, if you do believe the Russians are a great threat, and I don't buy that argument, this is a country that has the GNP of roughly Italy, the Europeans themselves can deal with Russia. The Europeans have much more wealth than the Russians. The Europeans have more people, and they already spend roughly 4 times more on defense than the Russians do. So I say it's time to get out of Europe and to focus on the real threat to American interests, which is China.